So, all introductions have been done. So I'm Ryan Scott. I work in Till Services over at Luck Crisis Center in Pittsburgh, over on 99 Day Street. What you have in front of you is basically verbatim our PowerPoint. Figure it gives you a little more to look at, a little more to, something to take home. So if I'm not speaking clearly enough, if I'm going too fast, or you have questions, let me know. So first things first, we're going to talk about Narcan and opioids. So there's kind of if you look at slide 2, and I'll be using the term loosely because it's sort of a slide. So you're looking at what Narcan will treat. Opiates, which would be opium, morphine, codeine. You have your semi-synthetics, your heroin, your hydrocodone, your hydromorphone, oxycodone, oxymorphone, and your I always stumble over this one. Buprenorphine. There we go. Sorry, always bad at that. You have your synthetics, your fentanyl, your methadone, and your tramadol. For slide 3, you're going to see, and I apologize for the printing quality. I realize it looks maybe a bit like a Rorschach test. But you can see how the various opioids will differ, so how long they'll last, what the potency is. You can see codeine doesn't really have a heavy potency to it, whereas you'll see heroin, oxycontin, and fentanyl will have quite a high potency to them. That will kind of inform how much Narcan to use, what effect it will have, and so on, which we'll touch on a bit later. So if you're on to page 2, defining opioid overdose. Webster's Revised Unabridged Dictionary, that definition is applied here for you. An overdose, too great a dose, or an excessive dose. An opiate overdose is when a person has too much of an opiate in their system, causing respiratory depression, and they slowly stop breathing. When a person's body has more drugs than it can handle, and someone slowly stops breathing, that's when they go down. In very large type, large comparatively, opioid overdose deaths are from a lack of oxygen. That is what kills you. It results in taking too much drug, or too much of a drug, or too much of a drug in combination with other things that could enhance its potency. So when asking why overdoses happen, well, again, they happen because you take too much of a drug. But they happen most often in the context of a relapse. So it does happen first times, but you do see it happening quite a bit when somebody gets out of treatment. They'll have that problem. So many drug users don't have the idea, as it states, if you mix alcohol or mix other drugs, what effects it's going to have. I think we saw, you see people with alcohol or with cocaine. I think the term, the colloquialism is speedballing, which is cocaine and heroin. That's kind of a popular one. Some combinations, as it says, are deadly. And many overdose deaths happen because people who witness overdoses don't know how to respond. And that's a big one. As it's going to probably state a little further in, most, if not all, overdose deaths can be prevented, even if you don't have Narcan. What they used to do, I believe, was rescue breathing. That's how you kept them going. Just keep oxygen going in. I think they kind of say CPR or rescue breathing. I think people tend to say CPR, just in case. Unfortunately, there are risks of illnesses being transferred if somebody happens to vomit when they come to. There is that risk, but we can kind of give you a little workaround for that later. So it says overdoses are often witnessed. 60% of overdose deaths occur in the presence of others, which means that 60% in all likelihood could have been prevented, that's well over half. So half the people that died, I don't have the exact number on, but half the people that died last year from an overdose could have been saved. Sudden death after injection is very rare. That's usually one thing people ask, what if they drop afterwards? Or drop immediately upon taking it. It's 15% of the cases. That's when that happens. some research, and again, I wish I'd leave a little link to this, but unfortunately we're not there. Some research shows that 79% of cases there is no intervention by bystanders on death. And again, I think that gets to the root of why we're having these trainings in the first place, is so we know how to respond, and not just, it's just for me to show, Narcan or anything like that, to show you how to properly respond to these emergency situations. That's a big portion of it. So again, as it says in bold, because overdoses are usually witnessed and are rarely instantaneous, there's often an opportunity to intervene. Again, I know that's a repeat of what I previously said, but I think it's worth stating over and over and over again. So, who overdoses? That's first slide, page 3. Experienced users, usually not new users, and that's in quotations. Usually people who have been injecting for 5 to 10 years. People who have overdosed in the past and survived. It also notes that overdoses may be intentional suicide. People who have been previously incarcerated or have a period of abstinence, if they're coming from either hospitalization, coming from a treatment facility, or if they're just attempting sobriety on their own. The logic behind that is, well, your body gets used to a drug over time. That's why you have to do more and more and more and more and more. In this instance, they go sober, and they go to use again at the same rate they've been using previously. Too much. Their body can't handle it anymore. So that's an overdose occurs. So highlighted on the second slide of page 3, it's the top overdose risk factors of using an opioid with other depressants such as alcohol or benzodiazepines will increase the risk. I don't know if you heard about the issues that had come up in Fitchburg recently with the bad heroin that had been kind of coming through. That was largely cut with benzos. And the analogy I like to use is, the benzos will increase basically the potency of it. It's like when you make cookies. You make chocolate chip cookies. You don't have a real way to control how much chocolate chips are going into each cookie. Same thing applies here. There's nothing saying that you can't get an entire bag out of that benzo-laced batch that will be pure, no benzo. You could get an entire bag of benzodiazepine. So there is just no way to control that. There isn't much of a QA portion of heroin dealing. So you also see cocaine, it's a stimulant, again, like I talked about, speedballing. If you have a history of recent drinking, again, loses your inhibitions, takes your motor skills out of the equation a little bit. You might not be measuring things out properly. If you have physical health issues, your liver, your lungs, HIV, all types of immunity, really most things can contribute to an overdose death in some way. Not knowing your supplier, again, I think we went by that, and I know that seems a little weird that we would encourage people to know their supplier. However, if you're going to use, yes, you want to know what you're getting. The preferred thing is for them to stop, but that's not always the case. And as much as we want this ideal world where everyone's going to hear you say, no, you give them the real reasons they need to stop, and they stop. Some people are going to use regardless. So one of the words of caution we can have is, please know your dealer. Please know what you're getting. It is the truth. And as I kind of pointed out, variation in the strength and content of street drugs. Again, somebody might have been used to the opposite problem with the benzos, where there was if you've been getting laced heroin with nothing but filler in it, and then you switch dealers, you have somebody who's giving you pure stuff. Well, that same thing you've been doing with filler, you do that same bit now with pure heroin, and what you're used to. Again, puts you at much higher risk. So on to page 4. Again, I apologize about the print quality. We do not skimp on print quality here. Distinguishing intoxication from an overdose. And it kind of gives you a little chart that will Say right here, if someone is really high, their muscles are very relaxed. If it's an overdose, they do deep snoring or gurgling, and I hate using this term, but it is a term that we use. Death rattle. We see a lot of people that, they say, well, I heard my son or my brother or anybody snoring. Not the case. They're actually kind of gasping for air as they overdose. So that's what a death rattle is. If somebody's really high, their speech is slow and slurred, and I think if you've ever been around somebody who has been using, you kind of hear the relaxed tone of voice. Somebody is overdosing, speech is very infrequent, breathing is very infrequent, or there's no breathing. Somebody's really high, they're sleepy looking. Somebody's overdosed, there's a heavy nod. They're not responsive to stimulation, which we will get to that in a minute. If someone's really high, they'll respond to stimulation such as yelling, sternal rub, pinching, things like that. If they are overdosing, well, again, you're not going to have that, and you're going to have a slow heartbeat, a slow pulse rate. One thing I always tell people not to do is, I think most people know this, but I always have to repeat it anyways. If somebody you suspect is overdosing, don't do that. As much as, I don't know if you want to. Don't do that. You're only slapping somebody who's either high or overdosing. You're not doing much good. Don't hit them, don't do any of that. What you do is what they call a sternal rub, which is you take your hands like this, and you kind of see how it's like that, right over the sternum. It is, I assure you, if you do it hard enough, it is very uncomfortable. You just basically put it on the chest and go like that, up and down kind of motion, just digging in. You can also do it up by the nose over here, where again, it's not very comfortable. When I got trained, I did it full force on myself, and it's really uncomfortable. So again, you can say, person's name to try and get it to respond. Jim. That's fine to do. Again, sternal rub, getting in close, trying to, trying to wake them up. So again, if that's the case, if somebody's just very high, they'll go, it's time, that kind of thing, trying to shoo you away. How we respond, and this is a big one. First things first, always call 911. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care how well somebody's trained, unless you are a first responder, always call 911, without question. If they aren't responding, go to rescue breathing. Unfortunately, I'm not trained to show rescue breathing. It's a whole course you do through the Red Cross. I would recommend it if you don't know it. Again, you can watch things online and learn how to do it. You're not going to be certified, but it is better than if you can't access the course. Put them in the recovery position, which we will show in a minute, and administer Narcan. The way we do that is one up this nostril, one up the other nostril. And one thing that's always very important that people don't always do, stay with the person. And I know a lot of people will ask, well, what if I have warrants? What if I have some drugs on me? Should I stay with them? We can answer that in a minute. So on to page 5. First line, we call 911. Just say, my friend is not breathing. You don't have to guess at why your friend is not breathing. You just have to know, my friend is not breathing. He is not conscious. She is not conscious. We're going to need that. Where are you? Say where you are. I'm in Lunenburg, over by this street. I'm in Fitchburg, over by this street. Or this is my exact address where I am right now. That's the first thing you always want to get. You don't need to say it's a heroin overdose or an overdose or anything like that. The one thing to note, and we always say this, is that emergency response time varies by community. That goes without saying, but it's always worth kind of just reminding people. So, we talked about why do people avoid calling 911. I can think of a few stories of somebody who was overdosing her boyfriend. He was right next to her, she was overdosing. He knew she was overdosing, and he opted not to call 911 because he was already on probation. He had drugs on him. So instead of facing the consequence, he let her die. I wish that was only a one-time story that I heard that. It's not. The MASD number 883, which I'm sure, that's something that sticks in. The 911 Good Samaritan Bill, as I will always remember it, provides certain protection from drug possession charges and prosecution when a drug-related overdose victim or witness seeks medical attention. What they do it for is to increase the likelihood of 911 being called. However, it does not prevent prosecution from certain things. If you have a warrant for murder, well, that's really nice that you called and you saved your friend's life. However, you still have a warrant out for a murder. You're still going to jail. If you, let's say, have a little bit of cocaine or pot, they're going to probably turn a blind eye to it. However, if you have a kilo of cocaine on you, that's intent to distribute. That's a whole other ballgame. They will have something to say about that. So it is always good to know the limitations of the Good Samaritan Bill. As much as, again, we're not going to prosecute you for maybe personal use drugs, we will, however, act on any warrants or act on, something like intent to distribute or firearms that are unregistered or anything like that. So if somebody locked in your basement screaming, they're not going to go, well, you called 911. We're going to ignore that. So rescue breathing, again. Make sure there's nothing in the mouth, always a big one. Chewing gum, things like that. Fish around, get it out. Not pretty to do, but hey, there it is. You tilt the head back, lift the chin, pinch the nose. You give rescue breath every 5 seconds. Again, not strict, but hey. So go over to page 6, you can see what the recovery position is. Always important to kind of have them on their side in case they vomit. You do not want them choking on it. You might save their life. If you administer Narcan, there's a good chance they'll throw up. You don't want them drowning in their own vomit. It's a terrible way to go. So we go down to what is labeled process and practice. So this is my live kit, but because this is going to be on television, I think we can make an exception. So I usually don't break open a live kit, but you see, and all these things come with it. Comes in a box, similar to this. Might get 2, might get however many. You can tell this has traveled with me for a while. It's been in my bag, it's been probably stepped on, it has been well enough cared for, but it's a cardboard box, it's not going to take too much abuse. You can see here is this portion. Here. The way it comes off, take this part here, pops right off. Take this cap here. Those will always give you trouble, so I have nothing else. There we go. Comes off, and you won't be able to really see this, but there's a right in there. Take this, which is a nasal atomizer. It will be usually rubber banded to the other end of the pack. Take it. Comes apart really easy like that. Take these 2 ends here. Together. Get them in like that. Now you've got this. Take naloxone here. It's the actual medication, drug. Take that blue cap off. Like this. Just might as well apply a little pressure, but in there? Good. Working here. There we go. There it is. It's atomizer. You can tell it comes out in a very fine mist. That's what it is. That's Narcan. That's how you administer it. Put one on this nose, remember, head's tilted back, put it up, one on the next nose, or the next nostril, inject it. Very simple. Always a little more difficult in an emergency situation, but I hope those people will remember it as well as they can. So there's a whole little handy chart down here, and most kits will actually come with a set of instructions on how to use it as well. So we head over to page 7. Overdose reversal. Naloxone, Narcan will reverse the effects of opioids. Basically what that does, that's the opioids have an effect on the brain. And again, that's why people come out of it not having the most cheery dispositions. And when I say that, that's a big understatement. They'll be quite upset. They've come from a sort of blissful state into full-on withdrawals, and it's nasty business. They're not going to be happy. They're going to swear. They're going to maybe try and fight you. They're going to try and maybe go use again. You don't want them to do that. So it is really, at its core, it's a nasal spray carried by EMTs, first responders in general, firefighters, police officers. That's who's going to carry it. We, however, outside of the first responder world, should also be carrying it. I do believe that thoroughly. I mean, this, I know it can kind of sound like a bit of a PSA for Narcan, or a bit of a paid commercial. I really actually do love this stuff. It does amazing things. It's saved countless lives so far. So one thing I always try and drive home to people, there's no potential for abuse with this. Nothing can happen. It's not like methadone. Nothing adverse can happen. I could take this and jam it in my nose and squeeze it up there right now. As you can tell, I was spraying it all around my proximity. Nothing's going to happen. Just got some in my eye. The usual joke is in Fitchburg, they usually have one that's filled up with tap water just to show people this is going to become a new trainer after this. They usually say, I feel more comfortable injecting naloxone than Fitchburg tap water. That does not apply here, but still, I think a good joke nonetheless. So, naloxone facts. Benefits. The person will become awake and will be breathing. That's the big one. That's really all you have to know. But if you want to know more, naloxone effects can last from 30 to 90 minutes. And I believe on the next page we're going to see how long these things can have effect on you. After 90 minutes, the effects of the opioid may return if there's enough drugs in the system. That's big to know. Because you could have 120 minutes worth of the drug. But at least at this point, the person is likely been given that second chance to get up and keep breathing, stay conscious, and then they're in a hospital setting. That's the ideal. That's the hope. If somebody gets up, they're angry, they want to have it out with you. It's normal. Always, take care of yourself. But people are going to be pretty upset. Not all of them, but I think a good portion are going to be not too happy that they're awake and withdrawing. So again, always let them know that, hey, it's going to get better. I know you're freaking out at the moment, understandably so. It's going to be okay. Maybe not a minute, but advise against using more because naloxone will cancel the effect. And that's basically you've got 90 minutes worth of heroin in the bloodstream. So that's taken care of by this, and then they're going to go ahead and inject some more. And then there's nothing happening. Keep going. Nope, because 90 minutes after this wears off, this is going to come back in full force. Whatever they put in their bloodstream, it'll come right back. So, the harm, as it's kind of stated again, like I said, I consider this to be an entirely harmless substance. The possibility of withdrawal, symptoms, and re-overdosing can happen. Again, that's another one. So I think knowing how you use this drug, knowing how it's going to affect people is a big part of it. Anyone can administer it. However, trainings like this will kind of give you the knowledge of, well, it's not just you inject it and magically, it's all gone, you're good, go on with your life. No. You may see as if you flip over to page 8, well, you're going to see how long things last. Methadone, 24 to 32 hours. Heroin, 6 to 8 hours. Oxycontin, 3 to 6 hours. And it goes all the way in between down to fentanyl, which is 2 to 4. So you're seeing anywhere between 32 and 2 hours. Now again, as it says right over to the side, 30 to 90 minutes the Narcan lasts. Obviously that depends. Depends on the person, depends on what they took. And again, heroin, well, they took heroin, so as I can clearly see, 6 to 8 hours, well, you don't know if they took heroin with fentanyl. You know, again, you can't pick a package by them and say, it says heroin with fentanyl. It's never like that. So again, the recap, what happens, what you should do, call 911, rescue breathing, and administer Narcan. So one way, we kind of always talk about when identifying an overdose, and this is one that's just always stuck in my head from the first time I was ever trained. We go off blue lips, blue tips. So you'll see blue lips, will start to get pale, blue, and fingertips. No oxygen is getting through anywhere. These are going to be the first things you see. We always use that for an identifier. So that's always kind of one surefire way. And that's the one, it's not on here, but that's the one that's always stuck with me, at the very least. So, where to get Narcan? Well, again, first responders have it. Many people who aren't first responders carry it. For whatever reason. Some people are just concerned citizens. Some people are people who have had loved ones either overdose or have lost loved ones, or people are former addicts themselves, and they realize, I know it could have happened to me, and I want to have this on me at all times. Maybe I can help somebody. Human services workers tend to carry it, but you can get it. If you go to CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, places like that, they have a standing order. I think it's 10 or more at all times is always going to be held. The truth is, you're probably going to have to pay for it. It will go off insurance. I do give a tale of the person that first started in this position, the MOSI, which is more of our lovely acronyms. Person who was involved over there went to go to the doctors. She had to buy this stuff out of her own. You need a prescription. The doctor said, Narcan. Why? What is this? What do you? I had the same thing happen to me recently, where a doctor goes, why is that? But that's a mistake. No, I carry it. Why are you carrying it? Because I'm a human services worker. Because it's relevant to me. I don't know. I don't have to tell you why I carry Narcan. But that is something that will come up. And really, all you say is it's here. I'm not on drugs. That's all you need to know. You're my health professional. I'm not using it. I carry it for other reasons. That's it. I don't have to say anything more. There is, and I'm forgetting what the, actually it's right on here, yep. Learn to Cope meetings at Hayward Hospital in Gardner every Tuesday night. You can get it for free. Don't quote me on that, but I'm believing it's free. You can also go to AIDS Project Worcester, talk to a fellow by the name of Jesse, I believe still works there. Jesse can show you on the spot. If you need a refresh, or you need to know, if you don't know anything at all. Show you on the spot. Give you a very quick version of it, maybe not the long-winded one like you're getting now, but show it to you, give it to you, it's free. But again, CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, places like that will have it. So if we go over to page 9, taking care of Narcan. Obviously, don't open it and play it like I am. But keep it away from direct sunlight, extreme temperatures. So you want to keep it about 59 degrees to 86 Fahrenheit. Don't know Celsius because not that good. Check the expiration date regularly. It's always a big one. It's right on. As you can see, it's kind of hidden by the injector now, but over here it's the expiration date printed right on it. So this expires in August 2017. Now, the term expire is very weird. It's with a lot of medication. You think food, expired, spoiled, don't eat it. In the case of Narcan, you can keep it around. It's not going to do any harm. I always tell people again, inject this up my nose. Your kids can get into a Narcan fight if they so choose. Spray each other with it. You can drink it. Nothing's going to happen unless they're on heroin, in which case, all those things I mentioned previously. Don't leave it out in the car during hot, summer months like we're in now, or the lovely winters we have in New England. That's going to do something. It's going to lessen its effectiveness or negate it entirely. So you always want to keep it with you. I carry a bag, so that's just always in my bag. It's always on me. It's always in the front pocket. So just kind of take care of it. Don't keep it in direct sunlight. Don't keep it in the. I know a lot of people are tempted to just kind of throw it in the car and that's it. Not going to do much good. Even though it's expired, if you have a situation that arises, use it. Always, always, always use it, regardless. I've heard of not one, not two, not three to reverse an overdose. I've heard of up to 10 to reverse an overdose, which is quite a bit. I mean, this is supposed to take care of you in one go. But again, things that are out there, unfortunately, not so. So, what I always like to kind of end on is, there's a reason that these trainings happen beyond getting you familiarized with Narcan, reviewing emergency response procedures, things like that. I always like to talk about these things and show people these things because I think there's a certain unwillingness to talk about it in a lot of communities. And that kind of needs to stop. There isn't just people used to think. When people think heroin, you're thinking about Harlem in the 70s. That's the image that conjures up for a lot of people. In reality, it's everywhere. Addiction doesn't necessarily know class, it doesn't know race, it doesn't know gender, it doesn't know any of that. It can happen to everybody, regardless. And I think it is, something that needs to be said, that stigma does exist. I've heard of people in the field. I'll give a brief example of somebody who's in the same field as me, had said something to the effect of, well, what if they use like the morning after pill? I overdose, you just get me out. To which they say, good. I hope every addict keeps this on them. I hope that is a conversation that addicts will have when using, to say, hey, I have this on me. If I overdose or if somebody else is overdosing, it's here. Take it and use it. I hope that's a conversation that occurs regularly. I don't care if somebody uses it to get up from an overdose once, twice, 10 times, 50 times. I want to see that person come back and have that second chance, third chance, 100th chance. Doesn't matter, it's a life, it's another human being. A lot of people have a very callous attitude towards addicts. We kind of view them as people that need to be punished, that it's a legal issue, that it's an issue of punishment, that addiction is a choice. And I think in everything we do, there's always a degree of choice involved, but that's just, very, very wrong. It's very little choice at play. Nobody ever wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be a heroin addict. I don't think that's really ever happened. To where someone says, yeah, today I've got everything going in my life, got no problems, let's create some. Let's become an addict today. But nobody ever. There's always something that leads up to it, and a lot of things that we don't know. What we see maybe is the person who's broken into our house or broken into our car and stolen our stereo. What we see is the person who's hassling us for money. What we see is a person just passed out, being is what we perceive as indecent on the stairs in a park, making your kids a little nervous. A lot of people tend to see that. They don't tend to see that there's a person who's in unbelievable pain, who is in a terrible world, who's locked in a cycle that they want desperately to get out of, but don't know how, or they don't have the justification, the reasons, the support. Maybe they don't have that family support. Maybe they don't have friends that can help them. We don't know. We can't say for sure what each individual person is going through. I would never want to throw away somebody's life over anything like that. And that's all I can think of is good. I hope addicts do have that conversation. I hope addicts do use this regularly. In an ideal world, they'll never have to use this because people will be free from that. But we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a real world. And things like this do have to occur. We do have to have these trainings. We do have to have these talks. I've seen a lot of people clean up and do amazing things with their lives, and I hope everyone gets a chance to have that. I can't think of a reason to deny somebody their life. I think it's not just a civilian attitude. I think we see it. We do tend to see it in first responders. We have what was the kind of infamous example of a firefighter in New Bedford who had said, I'm not repeating verbatim, I'm just kind of paraphrasing it best. I think Narcan is the worst drug. It's just going to encourage drug addiction. It's going to, why should I have to do this? This was put on his Facebook, by the way. This gentleman was put on suspension for a while and had to attend here's the exact title, it's like something like social media sensitivity training, where again they say, well, you're a first responder, you can't be saying that stuff. You can have the opinion, but you'll be surprised when people react badly to it. So I think the attitudes are everywhere that we do have to kind of look at. I think it's work that needs to be done on all levels in our society. Not just the rich, not just the poor, not just the grassroots, not just politicians. It's all of us at this point. That's why I carry it. Even if I don't work in this field anymore, if I ever decide to leave for another field, I'm going to carry it with me because it has proved its usefulness for me a few times. So I'm happy to be carrying it. I'm again very happy to be here and talk to everybody and maybe answer a few questions, dispel a few myths. I'm always I've heard a lot of stories from people that are happy to know things like this exist. Brings comfort to people who have maybe struggled with it or lost loved ones. I suppose that's what we all need to know is, again, it's something that knows no boundaries. And these conversations, despite being uncomfortable to talk about, that may challenge some of our ideas about how we deal with addiction in this country and around the world. They might be uncomfortable to have these conversations. It might step on toes. That's fine. We need to have those conversations. We need to break a few eggs. And at the end of the day, I think we all need to realize why we learn about these things, why we carry what we carry, and why we do what we do. And that's to help people at the end of the day. And I think a society of well-informed and helpful people would be a beautiful thing right about now. So, thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.